Hey, basketball fans, the NBA draft is almost here. We are less than a week away, and we are going to break it down live here on Chat Sports. Next Thursday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, is when we will go live, 4 o'clock Pacific. The draft will start, of course, at 8 o'clock Eastern, but we go live an hour early because we're going to break it down, interact with you guys, then, of course, bring you every single pick live as it's happening. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV. That is the link to share with all of your friends. And subscribe now so you don't miss any of our coverage between now and then. Could the Golden State Warriors trade for Bradley Beal? Let's start today's show with this topic. A report dropped that Beal is at the top of the offseason wish list for the Golden State Warriors if he wants out from Washington. That last part is the key because he actually has not demanded a trade at this point in time, at least not publicly. Now, also, the Warriors' big three want Golden State to chase rings. In other words, they want to utilize the draft assets of the number 7 pick and the number 14 pick to try and get win-now players. Bradley Beal is certainly a win-now player, and those two picks certainly carry a ton of weight, especially to a team like Washington that could just decide to enter a full rebuild. Here's Marcus Thompson of The Athletic breaking this down a little bit further. Quote, some of the Golden State Warriors are watching closely the next move of the Washington Wizards guard Bradley Beal. Should he become available, he's at the top of the offseason wish list. The Warriors trio of stars, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, they've made it clear to management that they want the franchise to focus on the pursuit of a championship, even to consider using their 2 lottery picks to get someone who can help immediately, sources confirmed. Warriors GM Bob Myers said that the goal this offseason is to add more of a veteran presence. Bradley Beal fits all of that mold, right? He's a vet, and he would be excellent in the Bay. It would be wild if you got Bradley Beal with Steph Curry, a healthy Klay Thompson, and maybe a re-energized Draymond Green, who's still an excellent defender and distributor of the basketball. Certainly not what he was, but still very good. This would be electric if you got Bradley Beal in Golden State from Washington. That would be fun. It would be exciting. And I want to ask you guys, should the Warriors trade for Bradley Beal? Type T for trade for him. Type P for pass on him, saying, no, I'm not interested. I'd rather use those picks to draft a player. Hey, I'm a big fan of Bradley Beal. You would have the top 2 scorers from last year if you trade for him, so I'm going to type my T for trade. Just over 31 points a game last year. Steph Curry edged him out toward the end of the season. He's improved as a distributor as well. 4.5 assists per game. Can rebound a little bit. A decent defender. Not great, but certainly not horrible either. I think his three-point percentage would go way up playing next to Steph and Klay as well. We know he can get buckets. Shot almost 50% from the floor overall, so he's really improved as an all-around scorer, not just a shooter at this point in his career. Bradley Beal in Golden State would be amazing. It would be so much fun to watch. Honestly, there was a decent argument that the Warriors should have pursued a Beal trade harder at the trade deadline. Maybe they did, and Washington said no. Beal said no, I'm going to give it a run here with Russell Westbrook. But if he demands a trade, expect the Warriors to pursue Beal very, very hard. He hasn't done that yet, but I think that could happen over the next few days. Here's my trade idea to get Bradley Beal to the Bay. Bradley Beal and Thomas Bryant to the Warriors for Andrew Wiggins, James Wiseman, and those 2 first-round picks. Because I think 7 and 14 by itself, that's not going to get you Beal. You need salary match. That's what Wiggins provides. And then Wiseman was the number 2 pick last year. So essentially 3 firsts to get Beal. And then you get Bryant back as well. Helps match salary for the Wiseman move. And you get a decent young big back as well. So I think that's a decent deal right here. Who do you guys think would win this trade if it went down? Type GSW for the Warriors. Type WIZ for the Washington Wizards. I mean, this feels like a win-win, especially if Beal does request a trade. Washington's getting a lot back, and Golden State gets a win-now player in Bradley Beal and a pretty solid big in Thomas Bryant as well. I think it's a win-win, so let me know who you guys think would win this trade. Are the Dallas Mavericks going to be interested in Chris Paul? Well, let's talk about the latest around CP3, because certainly a lot of teams will have interest in the veteran point guard. Bobby Marks of ESPN mentioned that the Mavs could have interest. Also mentioned some other teams we'll show you guys in a minute as well. He is expected to opt out of his $44 million player option, which is an interesting decision. I think he wants long-term security there. He played a major role in the Suns' final run. I know they lost 4 straight, and down the stretch, maybe Chris Paul wasn't as good as he had been throughout most of the playoffs, but there's no doubt his impact was felt in a major way this year. He was a legitimate second-tier MVP candidate. Guys, the Suns went from not making the playoffs in 11 years to making the finals. Chris Paul was a major reason why that happened, which is why a lot of teams should be interested. Bobby Marks listed these 3 teams specifically: Dallas, Miami, and the New York Knicks. Obviously, when it comes to Dallas, it's interesting. Does he fit next to Luka Doncic, who wants the ball in his hands quite a bit? I think Chris Paul could fit just about anywhere. I don't think Dallas really makes a ton of sense. I think going back to Phoenix still makes the most sense, but I would be shocked if CP3 ended up in Dallas, if I'm being completely honest. Like, this feels like Dallas is connected to every major free agent type of story, right? Like, when Kevin Durant's a free agent, the Mavs are interested. Well, of course they're interested. It's Kevin Durant. Doesn't mean that they're going to get Chris Paul. So I would be pretty shocked if CP3 ended up in Dallas, but I think at the way the finals ended, he will at least explore his options across free agency, whether that is Dallas, LA, or someone else. Marks did say he doesn't expect the Lakers to be a legitimate contender for CP3, but we'll have to wait and see. How interested are you Mavs fans specifically, in signing Chris Paul? Scale it from 1 to 10 for me on this one. How interested are you in signing CP3? 10 being very interested, 1 being not interested at all. Go ahead and let me know down in the comments. Now, obviously, every team should be interested in Chris Paul. Sure, the age is a concern. He does have a history of injuries, but the last couple of years, he's been able to stay mostly healthy. He was great last year, 16.5 points, 9 assists. He's still a good defensive point guard as well. He's really improved as a three-point shooter down the stretch of his career here as well. I'd take CP3 in Dallas. I mean, I'd be naive to not take him. He's an excellent point guard. He's a good floor general. He's not peak Chris Paul, but he's still really dang good. He's still one of the best floor generals in the NBA. He will have suitors. He's going to cost a lot of money. We'll have to see if he's chasing top dollar or best fit. I honestly still think Phoenix is the best fit for Chris Paul. He fit in like a glove under Monty Williams, next to DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker as well. But, hey, you become a free agent. Teams start calling. You never know what could end up happening for Chris Paul, who still is without a championship. He will pursue the best opportunity to get a ring, in my opinion. So predict it for me. Where will CP3 play next season? Will it be Phoenix, LA, Dallas, the Knicks? I think a lot of teams will be in the mix for Chris Paul. So let us know down in the comments, where will CP3 play this next season? Could DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry be heading to the Los Angeles Lakers? Let's talk about it on today's show. Report dropped down that both players are interested in heading out west and joining LA. Obviously, these two guys spent several years together with the Toronto Raptors. Never won a title together. Obviously, Lowry did end up winning one with Kawhi Leonard a couple of years ago. But DeRozan and Lowry, both interested in LA, and both are set to be free agents here once free agency begins on August 2nd. So let's break this down, man. This would be very, very interesting as these pair of teammates are set to hit the open market. Now, let's be clear. LA can probably not get both of these guys, right? I mean, unless both guys are going to take, like, not much money. Like, are you going to get DeRozan for $8 million a year and Lowry for 10 or something like that? I highly doubt it. So you probably can't get both unless you get crazy with your cap and start moving stuff around, but I don't think that's very likely. We'll look at DeRozan a little bit first here. Last 4 years, he's been very consistent. Last 3 he spent with the Spurs. That 17-18 season, he was still with Toronto. But he's basically a 21, 22-point scorer, very efficient, knows who he is, doesn't shoot threes, but I like the 6.9 assists this year. He has improved as a floor general quite a bit. He's not really that backup point guard type or second point guard type next to LeBron, but he can create a little bit for himself. Now, Kyle Lowry is more of that traditional point guard that can play off ball as well. Still a good shooter, 40% from three, 17 points per game, really good defensive guard as well, and he's got that championship pedigree, which is something that DeRozan does not have. So when you kind of start thinking, okay, which of these two guys would fit better with what the Lakers are trying to accomplish right now, which of course is winning championships? What do you think? Type D for DeMar DeRozan, type L for Kyle Lowry. Pick a player that should fit in better with Los Angeles. I believe Kyle Lowry's a better fit for a couple of reasons. Number one, what's been the thing for a few years now that LA's needed? Really another point guard. Like, I get it. LeBron's the point guard, but he can't run the offense 24/7. You need that secondary guy that allows him to play off ball some, get some rest, also check out of the game from time to time, especially in the playoffs, and Lowry can be that guy. We know AD is not running the offense, right? You can play through him sometimes, but he's not bringing the ball up and down the floor. You need a point guard, and Kyle Lowry is that. Again, I mentioned DeRozan has improved as a distributor, but he's not a, hey, go bring it up and down the floor 20 minutes a game guy and run the offense. That's not really DeMar DeRozan. He's an isolation scorer, which is fine, and I'm not opposed to bringing him to LA if I'm the Lakers. I just think Lowry's a better fit. I think they should have traded for him at the NBA trade deadline. I do think there's some regret there. I think that was a bad call by Rob Pelinka and this front office, but hey, maybe you can right that wrong and sign him in free agency. I would lean Kyle Lowry over DeMar DeRozan if I was the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, name a player you want LA to acquire this offseason. You Laker fans out there, let us know. Who would you like to see the Lakers either go out and sign or trade for this offseason? Obviously, a lot of hype around guys like Damian Lillard, Chris Paul recently. But let us know. Who do you want LA to sign or trade for this offseason?